These are 17 misconceptions that are constantly floating around Apex Legends and the community. So let's get into it. Number 1, console players only play in PC lobbies if they go and party up with a PC player. They will not just get thrown into a PC lobby on their own, and it's not possible for PC players to get into console lobbies. I know a lot of you watching this are like, well, duh, but there's so many players who comment under my videos and still don't understand this aspect. I have seen a couple rare examples of PC players getting into console lobbies, but that is not as intended. It's either a PC player hacking, or it's because like Apex bugged out with a limited time mode and they're using like a smaller pool of players. Number 2, all bullets slow the same. This is true. Daniel Klein, a former Apex dev, confirmed this, saying all bullets slow equally. Getting hit by a bullet slows you by 10% for a quarter of a second, and this can happen only once every 3 seconds. Now, I do have to say, I agree with all the people that feel like energy and heavy bullets slow you differently. I don't know what it is about those ammo types, but I swear they hit different than light ammo. And of course, all of this doesn't apply to the fortified legends such as Gibby, Newcastle, and Caustic, as their perk disables bullet slow. Number 3, controller players can't tap strafe on console, but they can on PC. However, this isn't as Apex intended it to be. I mean, tap strafing in general wasn't a mechanic they placed in the game, but what I'm saying about controller players on PC is they have to go into the config files in Steam, and it's technically against EA's terms of service, and they have banned it from the competitive Apex scene entirely. I have a theory that back in Season 9 when Apex was going to remove tap strafing altogether, well, one of the main reasons was they couldn't stop players from going into Steam and altering the config files without just removing the mechanic entirely. Once the community created backlash around this potential removal of it, they backed down on doing this. But it does make sense why it's banned in ALGS, but they don't ban other players who go into pubs or ranked and utilize tap strafing while on controller, because there is a smaller player pool in the competitive scene and they can monitor that much clearer. Number 4, now I said this in a recent video and some people still argued with me, but yes, all legends move at the same speed. However, they all have different running and walking animations, and that's why it feels like some move slower than others. Particularly the legends who have a bigger hitbox or are much taller feel like they walk or run slower, but this is just a placebo. Players have already tested this many times by clocking the in-game velocity of every legend as they walk and run. Now, one thing that isn't a misconception is that Raid Shadow Legends is launching a huge brand new update during the month of October, and I want to tell you all about it. If you aren't familiar with what Raid is, well, it's a free-to-play RPG game on mobile and PC. They currently have over 600 different champions to choose from in both their PvE and PvP modes. And yes, you heard that correctly, over 600 champions. Now, that may feel overwhelming at first, but let me tell you about a couple of my favorite champions so you can get ready for Raid's upcoming event. First is Cardiel. This is a great champion for the arena, but also he's super great against clan bosses, which is an alternative to a counterattack team. And second is Venus. This is because she's such a versatile offensive support champion that can perform well in every aspect of the game. This month, Raid just released a brand new feature, Awakening, and a brutal new dungeon, the Iron Twins Fortress. You can awaken your champions and this will transform how they perform in battle. But that's not all. Raid has also released a brand new legendary version of everybody's favorite champion, Death Knight. The best part is everyone can get him for free. Just log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and October 27th to be able to unlock this. You can use promo code DKRises for a bunch of free items to instantly level up your champion. If you're new to Raid, there's never been a better time to start than now. You can use my link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to receive a free starter pack worth almost $30, as well as a free champion and a ton of cool in-game loot. Thanks to Raid for sponsoring this video. Number 5, solo queue players versus pre-made teams. Apex has claimed that they try to match solo queue players versus other players who are solo queuing, but we all know that this isn't how it works. You could be playing with brand new friends, or you could be playing with randoms, and you still will be facing Master or Predator 3 stacks in pubs. Now, I wish the matchmaking didn't allow for this because it feels incredibly unfair when you're solo queuing with 2 other players who may or may not be on the same skill level as you, but you are forced to fight coordinated, sweaty 3 stacks who are all in a Discord call together. I mean, I think a lot of us agree that if Apex said, hey, it'll take a couple extra minutes to find you a lobby with a bunch of other players who are solo queuing, and we would all agree to doing that, rather than force you into a match quickly where the outcome of the match is gonna leave you feeling like, damn, that was a really lopsided fight. Number 6, if you see a flyer in the air with a death box, all you have to do is shoot it once, let it flap its wings and start flying, and then shoot it again with either 1 to a few bullets and it will drop the death box. You don't have to try to one clip it or anything like that. It's just shoot it once, let it fly, shoot it again, and it'll drop the box. The only reason you should be like laying a bunch of bullets into any PvE is if, well, they're trying to attack you or you're really close to leveling up your Evo armor, because a percentage of the damage you do to the PvE in Apex will attribute to leveling up your Evo armor. Number 7, all shotguns have some sort of choke built into it except for the EVA 8. Now, if you aim down sights with the Peacekeeper, Mastiff, or Mozambique, the bullet spread will be much tighter than if you go and hip fire it. That's why most of the times you will see me ADS with those weapons, even if I'm up close. I think everybody watching this knows that you can run faster with your weapon holstered, but a lot of people don't know that you can climb higher with your weapon holstered as well. And this can come in handy in certain spots on the maps that only allow for you to climb it if your gun is holstered. Number 9, when Stormpoint is in rotation for pubs, over half of the player base logs off of Apex. Now, I mean, this isn't backed up by any real data, but I just feel like it's gotta be true because Stormpoint pubs make me fall asleep at my desk. Number 10, Apex is not a 1v1 gunfighting game. Apex is a resource management game. Healing, grenades, ammo, teammates, legend abilities, and positioning are all resources you should take into account when making decisions to therefore trade against each other and against your enemy. A lot of players think that because they've played previous FPS games and that they're good with their aim or maybe specific movement techniques, that they'll be amazing at Apex. And sure, some of those skills will carry over, but remember first and foremost that it's a resource management game. Number 11, it's not always your random teammate's fault if you die. This phenomena has been way overblown in the Apex community. I could say confidently after solo queuing the majority of my games in Apex that it's not my teammate's fault if I died in like 95% of the situations. Can random teammates make my circumstances worse by dying at times? Absolutely. But try to look at what you did wrong when you died and bite your tongue when it comes to yelling at your randoms just to blame them for dying. This will go a long way in helping you become more accountable with your decision making. And it'll help you be able to read some of the decisions that your random teammates are about to or have previously made. Number 12, if one of your teammates is yelling, on me, on me, on me, that literally means they need help ASAP and they're gonna die pretty shortly after, or clutch up. Use this information however you'd like. Number 13, a huge misconception in the community is that the developers aren't trying. I see this notion spread all the time on Twitter or Reddit, and it's just not true at all. The devs care so much about the game. Probably more than most of the community, in fact. They want Apex to be the best game it can possibly be. However, their idea of making Apex a great game could vary widely from your opinion or even mine. And that's where this misconception stems from. People want to cry that the devs don't care, but only because they don't see the change they want implemented into the game. Respawn cares about Apex, and the devs are not lazy. Game development is much harder than it may seem from the outside looking in. And this community would be much better off if they didn't attack the devs regarding in-game decisions or lack thereof. It's fine to disagree with something, but attacking them or calling them lazy is just flat out wrong and not cool. Number 14, a huge misconception is the better you get at the game, the easier of a time you'll have. This isn't really true. I still have to sweat my tail off in pubs to win and get kills. It's not some easy process. Heck, even getting content at times for videos like these can feel impossible. Number 15, Apex is not a solo game. It's a team game at its core. Now, sometimes you may be stuck solo, and that can be tough, especially with how inconsistent the matchmaking can feel at times. But don't ever lose sight of the fact that this is a team game, and you can only do so much as a solo player, especially when you're going up against multiple enemies. Number 16, better iron sights are not paid to win. This seems to be a huge debate lately, and I have a lot of issues with it. There's really no aspect to Apex that is paid to win, and that includes some of the legendary weapon skins that seem to be better than others. First off, at the end of the day, every skin is a personal preference. There are some players who may like a smaller or more narrow skin, and other players who will like a more bulky skin. Of course, there are some skins that the majority of the player base agree that they are the best, but that doesn't mean it's paid to win. I'm a firm believer that if they're charging $18 for a legendary weapon skin, that each model should be unique, and that can include the difference in iron sights. But to say that having different iron sights gives any competitive advantage is just silly. Most players will use an optic for their weapon if they have the choice to. And even if they aren't, the iron sights are not making players get more kills compared to the players who have a different skin. Now, I'm not arguing that some skins are clearly better, but what I want to be super clear on is that does not mean Apex is pay to win. Pay to win would be if we had to spend money to use like a flatline or an R301 each game, or a player would need to be a certain level that they could pay to get to in order to have access to those S tier weapons. Some of you will say, well, you can pay to unlock different legends, but all of the legends have their own utility, and you can also just grind to access those legends as well. Number 17. Now, I know I just got over saying Apex is a team game, but a huge misconception is that solos is bad for the game. Look, how many times have you solo queued in Apex in a duos or a trios match and had your teammates die and quit on you instantly? And you are left in a disadvantaged game because every fight you're going to go up against, you're outnumbered in. The last time Apex had the solo LTM event was in Season 2. And since then, Apex has changed dramatically with the growth of the player base. I think it's time Apex re-releases this LTM to see how it performs. This would be a great alternative game mode for the players who don't have anybody to play with or just don't want to play with anybody. And for anybody who's about to spew out a comment saying, oh, but that would make some legends totally useless like Lifeline. Well, I have news for you. That's already true. We just got over playing Gun Run. Was Lifeline played a heck of a lot? No, not really. If you look at the ranked mode, the legend pick rate varies. This is always going to be a factor when you have different legends with different abilities. Different game modes will change up the pick rates of each and every legend, but that doesn't mean that some of them are just going to be completely obsolete. The parameters around who is good and who is not is always situational. Certain legends already have high pick rates for certain reasons. If you go and play Lifeline in a trios match and both your teammates die off drop and quit, well, guess what? You're still Lifeline solo, but going against 3 enemies in every fight. So testing out a solo LTM wouldn't ruin anything. And if none of those points sold you on this, well, you should know Apex Mobile just released the solo game mode. So that tells you something. Well, if you found this video helpful and you're interested in 5 tips that great players abuse in order to avoid taking damage, I covered everything in this video here. Thanks so much for watching. Peace.